is Claire with the Atlantic County Library in Hammonton, and today we're going to talk about and do placemats and napkins and table runners. Everybody thinks that making placemats and napkins and table runners is really hard. It isn't. It's very simple. All you need is patience. So what we first do is you cut out, you're going to need 1.5 yards for 4 double-sided placemats or 8 single-sided placemats. You're going to need 1/2 yard of fabric for every 2 napkins you need. So if you are doing 4 napkins, you're going to need 1 yard. If you're doing 8 napkins, you're going to need 2 yards. And just as a suggestion, when you're making napkins, you want the fabric to have as much of a cotton or linen content as possible. It makes it easier to clean, it's more absorbent, and they just work better. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to talk about the one style of placemat that you can make. This is a single-sided, all it is one piece. Placemats run 17 to 18 inches this way, 12 inches this way. So you're going to want to cut them out about 18.5 by 13. That gives you enough for the hem or the seam if you're making double-sided ones. So for this one, the first thing you do, the single-sided one, is you fold it under 1/4 inch, and then you fold it under again, and then you pin it. And when you get to the corner, you're going to overlap the 2 foldovers, and then you're going to stitch it. You can do this by hand, but it's very tedious, so I would recommend doing this on a sewing machine. And it's going to look something like this after you sew it all the way down. The way I prefer to make them is double-sided, where you take 2 pieces of fabric. They can be the same, or you can have opposite ones. Like if you want ones that are both Thanksgiving and Christmas, you put Thanksgiving fabric on one side, Christmas fabric on the other. So you lay them out, right sides together rather, sorry, wrong side up. And then you're going to need interfacing for this one. Interfacing comes in different weights. If you're unsure as to what type of interfacing to buy for the fabric that you're going to use, ask the person at the fabric store. They're very good about recommending different products, and they know exactly what kind of interfacing you're going to need. So you lay it out, right sides together with the interfacing on top. You pin all the way around and you leave a gap. The gap should be big enough to fit your hand in, like that. Then you sew, like I did here, all the way around, leaving the gap over here. When you're done, you take the pins out, and then you take a pair of scissors and you trim the interfacing as close as possible to the stitching. And then you trim off the corners diagonally. And what that does is it makes a nice square corner when you turn it right side out. The reason that you use the interfacing is just to make it a little more stiff. This way you don't have to iron them either if you like something that looks smooth all the time. So then you turn it right side out, which is what this one is, and here's your opening. So you fold in the opening like that, and you can either finger press it down, which is what I just did, or you can press the whole placemat. What that does is kind of flatten out the bulk a little. Then when you're done, you're going to top stitch, which is just a line of stitching all the way around. It closes up the opening and it makes it look more finished. For materials for placemats, you can use practically anything. You can make them out of burlap, you can make them out of silk, but you're most likely going to want to make them out of something that's machine washable. And if you do machine washable, make sure you wash, dry, and iron the fabric before you cut it out, because natural fiber fabrics have a tendency to shrink. And you don't want to put all that effort in and have your placemat shrink down to half the size. So napkins. Napkins, you definitely want natural fiber fabrics if possible. This is, I don't know exactly what kind of fabric they would call this, but it's 100% fabric. And as you can tell, I didn't iron it like I should have. You can do napkins 2 ways. You can do it the same way you did the one-sided placemat, which is you fold over 1/4 inch, then you fold over another 1/4 inch, you pin it, you sew it, and then you do the next corner. And when you get to the corners, you sew them over top of each other. The way I like to do napkins is with mitered corners. And the way you do a mitered corner, I like them because they just look more finished. You fold the corner over, that's about 1/2 inch. Then you fold the corner over again, the same amount. You fold down the side, and then the side again, and then you pin it. And here's what it looks like when it's pinned, both sides. It takes maybe 5 minutes longer. And it presents a much nicer picture when you're done. You sew all the way around, you trim your threads, then you've got your napkin. And then the last thing I was going to talk about is a table runner. I have an odd sized table. So my table runners are only ever 48 inches long. They're made by the same principle that you make the double-sided napkins. The difference is you don't have to put interfacing in them. If you want the interfacing because you want it to look stiffer, that's fine. You can use the same interfacing you use on the placemats. But this one doesn't have any in it. And this is quasi-reversible. It's got the pattern fabric on one side, but it's also got, as you can tell, it's been in my sewing bag, so it's covered in lint. It's got a solid color on the back, so that if you just decide you don't want to look at leaves, you got the solid color. It's the same thing. You sew around the edges, you leave a gap for your hand to fit in, you cut the corners off at a diagonal. It's very important on this one because of the points. And then you flip it right side out. And this one I just sewed the opening shut by hand, but you can top stitch it if you want, make it look a little nicer. This way you can change your table runner with the seasons, with the holidays. I have one for every holiday and every season, I think, and I've made all of them. This one, which took about, they're usually 10 inches by however long you want. Because this one's so short, this is only 42 inches long. This one took a 1/2 yard. And the two fabrics together, I believe, cost $6. So it's a lot easier. So that's all. Have fun. We have directions at Hammonton for the placemats, the napkins, the table runners, and how to make a tablecloth. So if you're interested and you'd like the directions, give us a call and we will email them to you. Stay safe, have fun, and thanks for watching.